Welcome back to a new video. In this video, we're going to be addressing kind of the very early stages of the Atlas, geared mainly towards newer players. So if you've played other leagues before, you could probably skip over this, as there'll be another video in terms of currency after this, but this is kind of the prequel to that. So this is really, really great for new players. Again, if you played previous leagues, feel free to skip over it. So basically, we're kind of starting off here as if we beat Act 10. This would be in the new league and such. So we're in the epilogue, we're done, we've completed the story. Now the idea is, like, what do we do at this point? And how do we kind of get going? So at this point, your gear is probably pretty shoddy. It's probably not too great. However, we need to start mapping, though. We need to start getting a little bit of currency to upgrade our gear, etc., right? And so basically, once we finish the campaign, we're going to be presented with Commander Kirak. He's an NPC. When you talk to him, basically after completing the story, he's going to be like, hey, good job, you saved the day. Here's a list of 4 maps. And a map will look like this. It'll be kind of one of these circular things with inscriptions on it. And basically that is going to be the endgame content, or one of the pieces of endgame content, essentially, that you're going to be running. Either 4 of those maps is fine, just pick one of them, whatever you want to do. It should come to you magic, meaning that it is blue in color. If it is not, transmute it. Use an orb of transmutation on it, that will make it blue. So example, if it starts white, then if you use a blue on it, boop, makes it blue. The idea here behind this is that we are trying to get these. We are trying to get all of these points, which looks really, really overwhelming. Don't worry about it, as we're going to zoom in and make things a little more palpable. So we're starting at the bottom here, and we're working our way through, depending on what kind of content you want to do. Early, I understand that you might not be like that familiar with what's going on, or like what content to spec into, like what's a good idea, right? Because these are lasting decisions. Like, you can refund like your entire tree, but that does cost like currency, if you will, from an economy standpoint, right? That you'd have to farm out. So in the next video, I'll kind of go over some different points, things like that, or setups you can do. But for now, basically starting at the bottom, we're going to essentially be going up through one of these ways and trying to get these adjacent map drops, just for more maps to drop. So we're working our way up the Atlas. The Atlas being this page, which is essentially the same thing. We're starting at the bottom, both kind of mirror each other, and then they go up towards the top. So we're only going to have access to a couple of maps, and then as we work our way up, we're going to unlock more and more and more and more, and it branches out, etc., right? So how do we do this? Well, we need to, at first, run maps that are blue. Why do we need to do this? So take a look at some of these maps. It's going to say, hey, Bone Crypt map. Then it says a tier 1 map, so that is our lowest. It goes from tier 1 to 16. It's going to have a bonus, and the bonus means that you need to kill the boss of the map. Okay, so you can kill all the mobs you want, but you got to kill the boss. And it's got to be magic or higher, which in this case it is. As we start getting to harder tier maps, that's going to increase. It's going to say, hey, please do this rare. So it needs to be yellow. Please do this rare and corrupted once you start getting into reds in order to get the bonus completion. This is just a one-time thing for the map. So example, if I wanted to run 100 plateau maps, that are white, that's fine. But in order to get that first completion bonus round, I gotta make it blue. Now, in order to start our journey, let's begin. So we're going to be going over the map device here. Obviously, your character will probably not as geared as this one. This is a geared out character, but just for principles, it should be fine. So we're going to put this in here, and basically you're going to only have one option here, which is this quantity of items found. Totally fine, all good, it's free, don't worry about it. We're just trying to generate a little bit of money, kind of get going. So we're going to go and put the map in, tier 1. Jump on in. We got 6 lives, 6 portals, essentially, or else the map closes. Okay, and we're going to work our way through it. And we're going to look through what we're kind of looking for in this map, right? So as we're kind of moving through, you might see something on the ground. Things are going to pop up with a filter. Assuming you have a filter. If not, highly recommend getting one. There's tons of stuff on YouTube. In terms of what we're kind of doing here, we're trying to choose between a loot filter that suits us the best. So if we want to do like a normal filter, right, which a lot of people will probably do, it's going to show a lot more. If I have none, as you can see, a lot of stuff shows up. But the idea is I generally go for like a semi-strict. Up to you, though. And the idea is we're looking for jewelry, which is a perfect drop here. So jewelry early is something that people will look for, because it's really, really small in size. It doesn't take up a lot of stash space or inventory space. However, it is really, really powerful in terms of a selling tool, because if you don't have a lot of tabs early for selling, then you don't take up a lot of space, so you can get more items on the market, things to sell. So as we're moving our way through, killing some monsters and such, all's good. And the difficulty maps will ramp up over time, but as we start out, it's going to be generally on the easy side. The big thing coming into maps, especially with upgrading your gear, is getting this number, this defense number, these resistances here, trying to get those to 75, close as you can. If you go above them, that's fine, but that's, getting that there is really going to help your survivability a lot. Right there, we just picked up another white tier map. This is a tier 2. You might pick up another tier 1 or a tier 3. That's totally cool. We're just progressing through, and if you find a lot of these and you find yourself having like a bajillion of a kind of map and you're like, I'm not going to run all these maps or I have too many of them, you can actually vendor them, meaning going up to a vendor and sell 3 of them, if there are 3 of them here, in a 3-to-1, and that will give you a new higher tier map. Or you can sell them off to other players, which is really nice early, again, for kind of trying to get yourself started. So we're just coming off here. Notice my loot filter is showing some rares here, but these are taking up a lot of space, right? I could pick them up and identify them with like wisdom scrolls, right? But I generally do not, okay? I'm sticking to the really, really small stuff. Again, being jewelry, which is going to be my amulets, my rings. You can do belts, but it's something that it starts to take up a lot more space. So I'm clearing out here. All's good. Found some wisdom scrolls. You might be hurting on wisdoms early, right? Which is really, really nice. I'm going to go on and ID this. And basically, I'm going to take a look at the mods. In this case, I'm kind of taking my time. You'll get better and things will go faster as you start doing this more. It's all of a practice thing. But basically, I'm taking a look and I'm saying, okay, what does this have on it? I generally will not take too long with these things. But again, earlier on, you're going to be probably reading slower, right? Kind of absorbing like what the item has to say. So you'll probably say, like, okay, it has like tier 4, all elemental resistances. Tier 4, global critical strike chance. And you're going to be kind of reading through, right? And tier 1 being the best, then tier, who knows, it could be tier 8, tier 9, tier 10, depending on the mod of what it could be on its worst, right? And if you don't know what something is priced, really I would just say ballpark it. And you may say, well, I don't know how to ballpark something. You can manually enter something like this in the trade site. You can also use a macro, which is probably a lot better. So like there's different tutorials on this, but you could use Awaken POE trade. That's something you can search up on YouTube. If you've already seen a video on this, awesome. But basically it's a hotkey thing that you can do and it'll bring you up. You can check different mods and you can see how expensive this is, right? With different mods on it, and kind of see like, okay, does this even exist? Is this good or not? If I start unchecking mods, like what can I see? Does this exist? Does it not? Right? And so you can kind of get kind of a better idea of like what something's worth, right? So like early league, this would probably be like, I don't know, like a couple chaos or something like that maximum. Might even be like a C or 2. But the idea is that you're trying to get just a little bit of money early because this can be converted into, again, a good piece of gear essentially for your build. Because again, there's going to be so much stuff flooding the market, okay, which is really, really important. Actually, I'm going to try this feature. I'm going to do a little card link that's going to link a video that I did for buying gear for really, really cheap. On League Star, which is totally still doable next patch, which is super duper useful. So basically we're just clearing this out. We're moving really slowly. I'm trying to at least like kind of stop, take my time a little bit. Again, this might be a little bit boring, but I'm just trying to go over some fundamentals. If you find your league mechanics, feel free to interact with them and such. Again, this, like, for your character coming into the maps, it's obviously not going to be like as this explosive, right, in terms of like damage, speed, all that stuff. But the idea is that clear as many monsters as you can. You don't have to be super nitpicky, so you don't have to pick every single corner full of monsters. But the idea is that you are just doing your best to clear bigger packs. Some of this yellow stuff we're going to pick up. That's all cool. One thing is jewels. Some people like picking up jewels and trying to ID them and sell them. I generally don't, just because even though they're similar to jewelry, there's generally a lot of jewels that drop in relation to like what their mods are. So you'll find like a lot of overlap in jewels. So you'll have like 10 people on the market post like the exact same jewel. And so it's really, really hard, I find, to sell those over something like, I don't know, even just like a chain belt or something, right? Or again, like this amulet, much easier time selling that. So we're gonna keep moving there. Got a chaos, that's awesome. And again, in that video, that's the thing that was in the cards, at the top of the, probably be at the top of the screen. That will show you, that's the thing, like even just with like a chaos orb or two, like how much buying power that has early, because it really does have a lot early. Do not underestimate that. After trial and error for so long, you kind of try to, you figure these out over time. So I'm trying to bestow the knowledge, if you will. Same thing, rare jewel here. You could pick that up. I'm not picking up this big stuff, right? Because it's just taking up a lot of my inventory space. Cool. And so in this case, I have basically cleared out the map. I've done this pretty thoroughly, right? Like we've only got 19 monsters remain. Sometimes when you like clear out a map, right, you're going to find yourself at like the boss room, or you have killed the map boss and you're going to be like, there's like 50 monsters running. It's okay. You can feel free to move on to the next map, especially if you drop some. That's totally fine. There's no secret magical number here. Obviously clear as many as you can, but you know, each to their own. And as well, once you kill a boss, this little map complete is going to pop up in the top right, so that means you know that you clear that out, which is really, really nice. And that'll happen every single map, even if you've already completed it with the bonus objective on here, because that means that, again, it's just letting you know that, like, hey, it's completed. So yeah, that's this map. So overall, like, pulling out of it, right, again, we did this pretty slowly, try to take our time and such. And what did we end up finding here? So in this case, well, you're going to find some league mechanic stuff. We're going to find some map stuff. We're going to find some jewelry stuff, right, which again might sell for like a C or two. We're going to pop back to our hideout. And it's going to bring you here at first, but now it'll be unlocked for your hideout, so you can jump into your hideout. You will end up having a map device, which is very, very neat. And then you can start opening maps, doing all that stuff from your hideout, which is really neat. You have your stash here, all that cool stuff. But so you will have this loot here. So some of this stuff, like the jewelry, could go into like a premium tab. So let's just say if this was our premium tab, in this case, we're going to do like set an exact price on all items. And we're going to say it's like 2C, right? And I'm going to chuck these in and leave them here. Totally fine. Maybe after they don't sell for a day or something like that, you can take them out. That's fine. Rotate them with how you want. But the idea is, again, is just getting our first couple chaos is really, really huge. Especially you might be following a build guide of some kind and you're like, man, how do I get these items? Or how do I get some decent items? This is just something you can do. You will also find a lot of league currency loot, as in we just did the Legion mechanic, which is one of the mechanics you can spec into on here. There's a plethora of different mechanics you're going to run into. They're all going to drop their own loot and currency and all this different stuff. So that is all sellable or usable. So like I can use this, I can sell it, right, whatever. But the idea is that all of that is essentially is potential currency for you, especially early. Again, if you have a lot of white tier maps, right, again, you build up a big collection of like beach maps, feel free to sell these. You can sell them for, you know, at least probably a chaos a pop, maybe even more early, like 2, who knows, right? Which again doesn't sound like much, but you can basically treat each gear piece as like a couple chaos max as you're doing things. So you could be like, okay, there's a resistance ring here, you know, some life on my amulet, right? Maybe a unique, I need 5C for my gloves, whatever it may be, right? The idea is that you are filling out your gear pieces and trying to get yourself just kind of comfortable in these early maps here as you're branching out, which is really going to be, if you kind of do like, if you drew like a line, it would kind of be within this area from kind of this little top area here before you reach into yellow. So down here, you want to get really comfortable. And then of course, over time, you can start upgrading up. That is the big thing with doing those early game maps. You will also get one of these points. That'll allow you to start speccing up through any which way here. If you're going into a completely blind, you're like, I have no idea what's going on here. Things you can go for, and you will see this whole tree off the bat. I just happen to have it all specced out, is you can go for map drop chance. So you can go down these small nodes and such and get like chance for one monster in each of your maps to drop additional maps. That's going to help you progress through your atlas. You can go for these wheels here, which if I zoom out here, I can left click on these little centers and it'll kind of ping like what wheels have these kind of same effects. Like if I wanted to ping another league mechanic, like that Legion mechanic we just did, I can ping Legion and it'll ping on the map essentially like where all that is. But in this case, we're going to be looking for maps. And this is just a very easy starting way to start doing some, well, progression. Because you're going to be moving farther up into your atlas, and the maps themselves are still money, right? So you can work your way up through the middle, sides. There's one over here. There's one over here. Kirok's really nice early as well, if you want some more map stuff. Even these small nodes are nice. And of course, there's some nodes up here, which are really nice as well. Just some general pathing, and then you can kind of start to branch out and look for other nodes. But that's just something I kind of wanted to present. In the next video, I will be having a lot more like detailed and more like concrete currency strategies, but I just want to go over like the initial start of mapping where you're like, I have no clue what's going on. If you're a veteran and stuck around, fantastic. I don't know if you really learned anything, but hopefully for a new player that gives you a little bit of something to go on and how it looks and feels going into the league and such. So hope you all enjoyed. And the next video will be a lot more concrete on terms of making money and such. So thank you for watching, and see you all soon.